this police officer was sentenced to 3,000 years in prison, all because someone called him a small boy. People with anger issues should not be allowed to serve in the law enforcement. They should not be allowed to hold a gun. So, in April of 2023, a South African police officer by the name of Sizwe Cedric had a family meeting with his wife Nomtantazo Imnisi along with other family members over their marital issues. It seemed as though that their marriage was hitting rocks and they really wanted to resolve it. So on that day, the 30th of April in 2023, 39-year-old Sizwe Cedric called a family meeting. Both members from his side and members from his wife's side. However, this meeting would end in a very horrible tragedy. Now, Sizwe was a police constable and worked at the Masoyi police station while his wife, Nomtandazo Imnisi, was a nurse. It's not clear how long they've been married, but it was said they had 2 children. And according to neighbors, it seemed as though that their marital problems had started long ago and may have been as a result of their busy schedule. Or let's just say, may have been as a result of Imnisi's busy schedule since she worked as a nurse and most of the times on 9 shifts, if not a whole day's shift. And because of that, the neighbors observed and reported that Cedric had been complaining that his wife, Imnisi, had not been taking care of him and that she doesn't do things domestically. She doesn't cook, clean, she doesn't do those things normal wives would do or normal housewives would do. And I don't know if he could not understand why this was the case, because just as he was busy, Nomtandazo Imnisi was also busy, if not more busy, because I know nurses work a lot. So this created tension between Cedric and Imnisi, and this was the foundation of their problems in their marriage. You can imagine how many times Cedric had to complain, how many times Cedric had to yell, scold, or maybe nag that his wife was not doing things she should be doing to take care of him. Now, it was also observed that Sizwe Cedric used to beat his wife, Imnisi. He was also violent towards her, and multiple times they had a lot of agreement, one that would end up in violence. And it was said this had been going on prior to April of 2023. However, somewhere earlier on in that April, it was said they now had a very big fight, and this was almost to a point of no return, which led to the calling of the family meeting. Now, put in mind that Sizwe Cedric beating his wife as bad as he did was reported multiple times to the police. That was how bad it was. Even as a police officer, he was reported for domestic violence. But the thing was, he had that advantage. He worked in the police station. So, for some weird reason, all the reports against him by his wife were sort of overlooked. And maybe they shouldn't have been overlooked. Because on the day of the meeting, Cedric Sizwe's family came, as well as Nomtantazo's family. Her brother had come, her sister was there. Sizwe's own siblings and relatives were also there. This issue was to be settled by both families. And it was said the meeting was held in Sizwe's house. In his house in Hazyview, a town in Mpumalanga. On the day of the meeting, they tried to settle the disputes between this husband and wife. It was a typical family meeting, a typical meeting where issues would be raised and solutions would be brought. And obviously, one of the biggest issues that was raised, although not enough details was let out, but one of the biggest issues that was said to have been raised was the fact that Sizwe was physically abusive to his wife. Clearly, he may have also brought out the fact that she was not doing wifely duties. At the same time, your wife not washing plates or cooking or washing clothes cannot outweigh the problem of you physically beating her to the point she had to report you to your own people, to your own fellow officers multiple times. And in the process of dealing with that discussion, Imnisi's brother, 42-year-old Dennis Colen, got angry, yelled and raged at Sizwe. Mrs. brother was slightly older than Sizwe. Sizwe was 39 at the time, while Dennis was 42. And in the heat of this exchange, Dennis was yelling at Sizwe due to the fact that he was beating up his sister in their marriage. And this clearly was an elder brother trying to stick up for his younger sister. And in the process of this exchange, Dennis called Sizwe a small boy. And I can imagine it must have gone something like, "Get out of here, you small boy, I will deal with you." I can imagine that could have been it, because we know small boy sometimes in the heat of an argument can be used as a derogatory term. I don't know what it might mean in a South African setting, but over here, it's pretty much about age or pretty much about lack of experience. But maybe over there, it might mean something deeper, because the word small boy pretty much got into Sizwe's head and offended him greatly. It was that word that triggered him to go into his room, pick up his gun, and set the whole place on fire. Well, not literally. During the exchange back and forth with Dennis and Sizwe, after he called in the small boy, Sizwe leaves and goes into his room. It's not clear if he hinted that he was going to get something to fight. It's not clear. Nobody knew what the situation was. But obviously, for Dennis to call him a small boy, I would assume he would not be scared of anything. However, Sizwe had gone to bring out his pistol. And when he came back into the sitting room, he first fired at Dennis, shooting him multiple times, causing everyone to panic and yell. After shooting Dennis, he went for Imnisi's younger sister, 32-year-old Zonizile, shot her too before finally shooting and killing his wife. Obviously, Imnisi, as well as her brother and her sister, would take her side, and I think this pissed off Sizwe because they yelled and maybe cursed at him for beating their sister, and maybe they also did not want the sister to continue in the marriage. But from what we know, it was the word "the small boy" that triggered him and got him riled up. Because in the meeting, Sizwe's family were also there. His mother was there, and other of his relatives were there. But they weren't shot. The only people he killed were his wife and his wife's family. Pretty much wiped out every member of his wife's family there. If Imnisi had 2 siblings, all her siblings were killed by her husband. The police were called to the scene, and the 3 bodies were evacuated. Sizwe was arrested, but it was said he was later released on bail, and due to his connection as a police officer, I would guess, but he was later rearrested and the case went on trial. When he was asked to plead, he pleaded guilty because what else? However, his lawyer argued that the reason why he did it was because he was nervous after being called a small boy. I don't even know what that means. Like, how do you feel nervous for being called a small boy to the point you go and pick a gun and kill 3 people? I don't think the small boy was his trigger. I doubt. I don't think so. I don't mean to be disrespectful to our South African viewers, but South Africa has a history with family side. I don't know if that's the word. Is it family side? There have been a couple of stories where somebody gets angry and shoots everybody in the family, especially from the other side. I don't think, unless this is a story I've heard before, but I've heard multiple stories similar to this. The husband gets angry, shoots wife, and shoots relatives. We've seen this before. The other one was a sugar daddy sort of a thing. Okay, boyfriend to one who killed the girl and killed her sisters who had come for meeting to settle case, or who had come to... I remember that story, we did it here on this particular channel, and it's almost repetitive of itself. So I just think it's just a case of anger issue with his marriage and with how well they were maybe just against him. Because obviously, if you beat up someone's sister, his brother and his younger sister would stand up for her. And I think this angered Sizwe completely. Because I don't see how the word small boy, even as an insult, would push you to do something that drastic. It was also said in court he did not seem remorseful. And thankfully, in June of 2024, he was given 3 life sentences.
In count number 1, you are sentenced to life imprisonment. Count number 2, you are sentenced to life imprisonment. Count number 3, you are sentenced to life imprisonment.
3 counts of murder, which in most countries would interpret as 1,000 years each. Although for a general life sentence is 25 years to life. But if he's going without parole, he might be facing up to 1,000 years there, and we both know he won't live up to 1,000 years. However, if he did live up to 1,000 years, he has 1,000 years more to do, and another 1,000 years more to do. For the 3 people he killed, he would have to serve 3 life sentences. It was also said he was declared unfit to handle firearms. No kidding. You guys had to wait for him to kill 3 people first before you declare him unfit. And this is not just South Africa. I feel like police in general, all around the world, should be vetted for anger issues. People who cannot control their temper, people who cannot take insults, people who cannot handle being called small boy, people who are just trigger happy, people who... There's a lot of things that should be checked for somebody who wants to join the police force. And anger issues should be one of them. Temperament should be one of them. It's just unfortunate. It's just sad that this had to happen. It's just sad that they had to wait for him to do this first. Declaring him unfit right now does the community no good. Lock him up. He's going to be there for 3,000 years anyway. So whether or not he's fit or not fit to handle firearms, it's not important anymore. But it's unfortunate. And I think most times for me too, if you're with somebody and you know that they have anger issues, just know that there is no limits of someone's anger. Anybody who is capable of raising a hand to slap you or hit you during a fight, is capable of picking a gun. I don't know why people be like, oh no, he's only slap. Oh, I cannot do more than that. I don't believe that. Once someone is angry enough to raise their hands to hit you or pick up a weapon to hit you, just know that there is no limit to that anger. If there is a gun in the house or a chainsaw, it depends on the fight, depends on the words you tell them, and they'll pick up that gun or that chainsaw or that acid, whatever. There is just no limit to what people with anger issues can do. That is why it's best to leave at the first red flag. But you guys let me know your thoughts, let me know how you feel about the story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Turn on your notification button so whenever there is an update or a new video, you'll be the first to get notified. Thank you.